Usually what happens is early on, because you're not warmed up, you see the mistakes very, very clearly. Okay. So it's very easy to find them. And then as we go to it, but I'll make sure that we do get to 3 because I know that's the one you want.
Hey guys, 2 minutes. I wasn't sure if it was the classy look you've got or the outfit, but I wanted to say hi real quick.
Hi.
Where are you going right now?
H&M.
H&M?
Yeah.
I haven't shopped over there, you know, but I hear it's cool, you know?
We like to shop a lot.
Yeah, you do? Are you shopaholics?
Shopaholics.
You know, that's how you connect each other, you know?
Yeah,
Best
how we
female
make
friends.
Yeah.
That's right. Both of you on a shopaholic free. Let me guess. South American or Mexican?
Mexican.
I knew it, man. You've got it in your eyes.
You didn't know it.
I fucking knew it.
You did?
It's the nose and the skin color that gives it away.
Well, I don't like my nose, so ugly noses?
Well, I mean, that's a debate, you know? I didn't say anything, you know? But I was gonna say, now that you mentioned, yeah.
Ugly noses.
How do I know? My ex-girlfriend was Mexican.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And
down
she
from
was
Mexico City.
beautiful.
She was like 6.2 with a heel 6.4, and she was, yeah. Yeah. You like that? Awesome, man. Glad to hear that they do. So, are you guys living here or what? 2 seconds.
Cool. This is a very interesting one, actually. What's good, what's bad so far out of this interaction for the general friend?
Energy's really good.
Energy's good in the sense of, what do you mean by that exactly?
His projection, he's loud.
Right. He's also continuing to talk, right? He's continuing to provide to the conversation. So that's all good. Yeah, what else?
You said 2 seconds there, almost as if it's like he's like trying to chase them instead of like getting them to chase him.
Sure, okay. So it is a little bit of a chasing vibe. Although to be fair, like he is chasing, right? From the I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's always the idea if you want to convey that it isn't chasing or whatever, and then there's the fact that like legitimately you are fucking chasing. So I mean, and sometimes that's just unavoidable, right?
You're like pace. You like set their pace. I think this is just my thing. You like set the pace kind of like really well, and then like as you were talking to them, they kind of slow down with you. So that's kind of like cool. You're like leading in like a, you know what I mean, like a sub level.
Yeah, I actually like a lot of things you did, especially given the fact that like from the get-go, I don't think their reaction was super positive. Their reaction was kind of like tolerating, but not that positive. The way that you stayed in, the way that you plowed, pretty good. The way that you kept a good assertive energy level, not bad. Walked with, made sense. Yeah, this was one of those. It was always gonna be a bit of a tough one. Reason being, actually, mostly just that your opener, it wasn't even bad. It just wasn't quite good enough in this particular situation, and it was a set that was just gonna be tough. So there's not a lot there. The big thing with the ongoing interaction, though, is that you're very much trying to get into their world as opposed to bringing them into your world or overtly self-amusing. It's all questions about them, what are you doing, what's up with you, et cetera, as opposed to, here's what I'm into, here's my opinion, here's what I think. Does that make sense? Now you're talking about like your ex-girlfriend who is Mexican or whatever, but that's just because they're Mexican, so it's still even their world, their frame. Try to talk about the things that you're truly passionate about and the things you truly want to talk about, as opposed to just the boring like, so what about this about you? What about this about you? Because that's not really that new to them, right? They already know that stuff, right? So yeah, just first and foremost, be you. Put you on steroids, put you on blast, and just if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But overall, actually, obviously the set's over in like 40 seconds, so it's not like a long set. It's not like a great set in terms of the results. I don't actually think you did that terribly, to be fair. Even though they like pretty much blew you out, or didn't like blew you out, but they kind of like ignored you and walked and whatever. I actually don't think you did too much wrong. Yeah, I think that the opener was a little weak, and from there you just like didn't do quite enough, but you didn't do anything all that bad. I'm gonna look at after we finish this. I'm gonna look at the opener on it real fast again.
Mira, aquí. Are you living here or
No,
are you visiting?
Yeah, we're visiting.
How long are you staying? How long are you staying in town?
The weekend.
Okay. So after you're done with the shopping, what's the schedule?
I'm not sure. We're gonna meet up with another group of friends.
Okay. How do you feel? What's your take on?
So I like this. I like the fact that you're like continuing to close no matter what. My guess is like this is just like a futile attempt, because like if you're trying to close girls that are like legitimately walking away from you, it's not going to work very often. But you know what? You're giving yourself a chance to succeed, so I'm kind of okay with it. You know what I mean? Ideally, what you should be doing though, instead of trying to close right now, just try and do something to engage. Try and do something that's like fun, interesting, funny, that's conveying your personality, or something that instead of just asking them questions about themselves, go one step further and tell them about themselves. Be a little controversial and get a reaction, right? And get them to engage in the conversation. Because the point is you open them, but they never really got engaged, right? And so, yeah, you can try and close this here as they leave, and it's definitely better than nothing. It's just gonna be a very low percentage. But what are you gonna do?
Smoothie and a fun banter with a cute guy.
I can't. It's my boyfriend.
Oh my.
Again, though, I honestly think that set was not as bad as the result. I think that there's certain times, again, this is something you have to come to grips with in game. Certain times you get a little unlucky in game, right? Certain times you do a pretty good job and you get a bad result. Certain times you do a terrible job, or no, if you do a terrible job, you're gonna get a terrible result. If you do a mediocre job and you happen to get a good result sometimes. And that's just how it is. So here, I don't think you did a great job. I don't think you did like an amazing set or anything, but I don't think you did a bad set by any means. So getting the result you got was kind of a little unfortunate.
Hey guys, 2 minutes. I wasn't sure if it was the classy look you've got or the outfit, but I wanted to say hi real quick.
Hi.
Where are you going right now?
H&M.
Okay, right there. It's kind of funny. There's nothing like super wrong with it, but it's kind of like a little bit rambly, a little bit try hard, and a little bit no energy. It feels a little bit like you're reading a script. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's like I read this, I found out the script that if I say it to girls, hopefully it'll get them to stop it. Now I'm gonna say this to you, and where are you going right now, right? So it's not like there's no one thing that is like, don't say that word or don't say that word. There's no one thing that's so bad about it, but it's just overall kind of lacking in upbeat energy, and it's a little bit lacking in soul. It seems like you're just like going and doing some procedure you hope will work, as opposed to you really enjoying it or you really mean it, right? And so that I think is your one major error in the set, so to speak. And unfortunately, errors right at the start are very unforgiving, especially with hot girls that are in groups, right? And so the point is you made that little error and then it was just kind of unforgiven the rest of the set. But
H&M?
Yeah.
I haven't shopped over there, you know, what I hear is...
But this I actually like, right? This, I mean, essentially you were already getting rejected here. The fact that you turned and continued with them and walked with and made something out of it is really good. The fact that you're persistent is really good. The fact that you stayed loud is really good. Could have made it, again, less all about them, more back and forth, more about you, more self-amused. But from here on, it's actually pretty good. It's just the open, like the lack of real energy on the open. You just never got a chance to recover from that. So it happens sometimes.
This is actually the first set. For about 10 minutes, I was just warming up, just walking around trying to find something. And then this was the first one that came in, and that's probably why. You'll see the energy kind of picks up, and it's too much after.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. Like, well, not necessarily the too much part, but usually that's what happens is that the first couple sets are that way. You see your biggest sticking points, or you see yourself at your worst the first couple sets, which is why a lot of times I like to look at them, and then you get kind of usually progressively better. So we'll look briefly at 2, and then we'll get to 3, which is the one you wanted to see.
Hi, that's a cool hat. Are you from New York City as well? It says New York City on it. Yeah. Are you from New York City or are you Chinese?
I'm from Japan.
You're from Japan? Huh. I would have never guessed, man, just by looking at you. Yeah. So are you visiting Vegas over here? Cool. Who are you hanging out with?
It's my parents.
Your parents? How old are you?
22.
You're 22. You look like a lot younger than that. It's probably the Asians, you know? I mean, the Asian genes in you. Yeah. Good. So, do you go out?
How many people here are familiar with breaking rapport, neutral rapport, trying for rapport tonalities? A little bit? Okay. There's a little bit in your tone, which is it's kind of funny because you're clearly like an assertive guy in general, and like I think you're like smart, successful, that kind of stuff. But there's definitely a little bit of like trying for rapport and nervousness in your voice. Okay. And do you know like kind of what that? Do you know how to tell when you're trying for rapport in your voice and when you're breaking rapport? Okay. So basically, if it sounds like the end of your sentence is a question mark every time, it's like trying for rapport. Right, and so when you hear this, and I couldn't quite tell because I was like, it's only subtle, it's not very strong. I couldn't tell at first, but then when you asked a few questions and I noticed that it was exactly the same tone as when you weren't asking questions, that's how I knew. All right, but so there's just this little bit of slight trying for rapport in your voice, and especially on the open, that's not going to help you. That's going to make the girl be like, oh, this guy is like nervous or insecure about what he's doing, or he's maybe lower value or something like that. That's the immediate impression. And so that's going to make it hard for you to overcome. Breaking rapport is more like if it's like an exclamation point at the end of the sentence. And then neutral rapport is if it's more of a period. All right, so the first set, it was more like a combination between period and question mark. So there was not enough energy overall, which is like period, right? And then when there, whatever energy there was like kind of an upward slanting question mark in your voice. And so that's the bad combination. That's what you don't want. What you do want is between neutral and breaking, which is like kind of dickhead, but not full dickhead. Or a good way to think of it is like being a bit of a dick, but with a smirk on your face, all right? So like if I was gonna open, it's always hard to like just like snap yourself into it when it's not a girl or whatever, but be like, hey, you, who are you? Hi, Todd, who the fuck are you? All right, so it's like, has that little bit of a bite to it. It's not like, hey, who the fuck are you? It's not like that, right? You're not like barking at them, but like, hey, who the fuck are you? Hi, Todd, nice to meet you, right? It has that assertiveness, it has that bite, but also I'm like smiling a little bit. I'm not like, hey, who are you, right? I look like I'm having a good time, I look like I'm happy. That's important. That's what you're going for, is being a bit of a dick, being assertive, but with a smirk on your face or a smile on your face. That's the sort of energy you want on the open.
Out with your parents in clubs and stuff like that? Is that your mom? Introduce me real quick. Hi. How are you? Nice meeting you. I just wanted to say hi to your sister real quick.
Slow down. Slow down, please. All right. 2 reasons. 1, because again, it makes you seem nervous. But also, it doesn't give them a chance to participate. Even if this girl wanted to participate, at what point when you're talking like this is she exactly supposed to start talking to you and jump in and like say something of her own? Because I don't know when she's supposed to. I mean, she might really like you, but when's she gonna jump in? Because you're really talking, and I don't know. I mean, was this your mom? I don't know. There's too much. Just take a breath. All right. Here's the ironic thing. Most guys, they talk really fast because they're worried the girl won't stick around, or they're worried it won't go well, and they want to like force it to. But ironically, if you were to slow down, that's when it will actually go well. Right? If you slow down, you're conveying you have belief in yourself, you think she should like you, etc., and that's when you're going to get a good reaction. So that would be the focus.
She's a little shy though.
That's actually much better. Right here, you just like took a breath, leaned back, slowed down, got louder. That's how your voice should be all the time, what you just did there.
Yeah, you're welcome. There you go. Your English is pretty good. Where did you study? In Japan? Usually most of my Japanese friends have a hard time with the English, you know? Yeah, so it's good. Me? I was born and raised in Europe, but I've been living here in the States for quite some time now. Yeah. Do you take your parents to clubs at night and stuff like that? Yeah, you did? Where'd you go? Okay. But those are shows. What about? Okay. How about at night for fun stuff, you know? Going out in clubs. You don't do that? You should take your parents. It's fun, you know? Get them out dancing and stuff, you know? Yeah. So what's on the schedule for the next couple of days?
So here, same thing though as the previous set, which is constantly trying to get into her world. Like what have you said about yourself in the set?
Yeah, hardly anything.
You asked a lot of questions about her. So you talked really, really fast, asked a lot of questions about her, and you know what I mean? It just conveys a nervousness, which actually has gotten a lot better. Like once you settled into the set, you did slow down, you did relax, right? You actually want to open the same way you're talking now in the set, right? More slowed down, more relaxed, more of a interactive kind of a thing instead of talking at her. So that's actually positive. But the entire time, your subject matter is all about asking her questions, right? So the reason why most guys ask questions is that they can't think of what else to say. Is that fair? So how can you come up with something to say that's not a question? What are some ways? What's that? Make a statement. So for example, almost any question can be turned into a statement. So somebody throw out a question at me.
Where are you from?
You know what? You don't look like you're from around here. You look like maybe from somewhere far away. Maybe like I don't know if I want to say city or small town. I'm not quite sure. Right? That's an extended version. But another question.
How are you doing?
How you doing? Oh my God, you look like you're having like I can't tell if you're like having the best day or if you have this very pensive look, so I can't quite tell with you. What else?
Are you from Amsterdam?
Are you from Amsterdam? You don't seem like you're from Amsterdam. Or there's something about you that just screams Amsterdam. I can't quite tell you why. Does that make sense? Or I just got back from Amsterdam and there's something about you in that place that I'm just like, I kind of am putting the two together in your mind, but kind of not as well. Whatever. The point is, instead of asking the question, you're making the statement. Yeah. That make sense? Any question can be done that way. The other thing you can do, which is really easy, is you ask the question and then you follow up with something that offers value. So for example, somebody give me a question and I'll role play it with someone. Give me a question.
When's your birthday?
When's your birthday? All right. When's your birthday?
8th of January.
Really? I was going to figure out your sign, but then I realized that's fucking bullshit. So I decided not to do it. Right? Does that make sense? Right? You just conveyed a personality and opinion afterwards. Give me another question, someone.
What do you do for work?
What do you do for work?
Mental hospital.
You had to think about it. Do you work there or are you a patient? That make sense? All right. I'm sorry if you actually work in a mental hospital. I just made fun of the patients. I feel like a total dick. But anyway. But you see, anything, you can just turn it around. You can have a perspective, have an opinion about anything. So you can stop the question from being the boring string of questions by just making statements instead. Or if you do make the questions, if you do, like, you find yourself spitting out the questions, it's all you can think of, that's fine. Adjust after the fact. Once they answer, have an opinion, have a positive or negative spike about the question, right? Then give your opinion there. The big thing to avoid is just the string of boring questions that you don't care about the answer to. You don't want to have the interaction. It's like, so where are you from? Go ahead and answer, it's fine. So where are you from?
Farm town.
Really? Okay, cool, that's cool. What do you do there?
Farm.
You farm? Cool, what do you farm?
I don't know. What do you do?
Right, it's just like blah, blah, blah. It's just a boring ass conversation. That's what you want to avoid. Okay, you want to avoid the interrogation. So any question can be turned into a statement, and also following on from any question, you can express an opinion. All right, just avoid the string of questions. Also, realize not all questions are bad. Some questions are good. The questions that are good are when you actually care about the answer. All right, if it's what do you do and you don't care what she does, that's a bad question. But if you found out that, I don't know, she's like an author or whatever, you could, if you ask the question, you know what, I've always wondered with people that do artistic things, were you always good at it or were you just passionate about it? And then because you're passionate, you did it a lot and then you became good at it, right? That's like an interesting question. That's a question that maybe you actually care about the answer to. That's a good question. So that's totally fine. But when the question's filler, when it's like, so what do you do? So where are you from? So have you lived there long? Right? That's just, it's clear that you have nothing to say and you're just trying to fill the void. All things being equal, a statement's better than a question, but there are good questions. Right? So don't think that all questions are bad.
Tomorrow I'm going to San Francisco
Okay.
to see my friends.
Uh-huh. I lived up there for a couple of years. I like it. It's a little bit cold though.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
What is it? So listen.
thank you.
Yeah. What's your name? Okay, that's an unusual name, Japanese. Yeah.
That's my English name.
Okay. Yeah, probably it's a little bit different when you spell it and write it down in Japanese. I can't read that stuff at all, you know. But I was gonna say, you know, if you're tied up with your parents throughout the day, why don't you come out with me and my friends tonight? Yeah. You don't? Why not? I mean, a little bit of a nightlife and meeting some new cool people.
Okay, so then that would be the next thing is, in both cases, the other one, obviously the girls were walking away and you're just trying to close. In this case, she's actually responding relatively well to you, but it's still polite conversation. There hasn't really been intent in the interaction. There hasn't really been a show of interest. And now you're just like trying to close. So you kind of went, again, zero, same as what you did. You went kind of 0 to 60. It's like, oh, pleasant, polite conversation. Oh, close. Right? There needs to be a little transition. Show some intent. And so some of the drills that you do, the push-pull, for example, would be a really good thing. Or another one for you would be just state a strong opinion. State a strong opinion, okay? I knew a guy once upon a time, and he actually had a really good game, and his game was very, very simple. Basically, all he did was he would interrupt girls. He would interrupt. He would go in and have a conversation, he'd just interrupt. And early on in the interaction, he would tend to interrupt with a lot of things that were like contrary or like controversial or kind of like butting heads with the girl. And they'd kind of like have the like fight, so to speak. And then later on, he'd sort of interrupt with more like, me too, oh, that's so cool type statements. And so that's that idea of like value and comfort in the set. First of all, a lot of value, then a lot of comfort. But all he would do is just interrupt. So he didn't like overtly push pull. He didn't overtly like show intent. He would just interrupt. But so he'd be giving his own opinion. He'd be leading the conversation. And what we would say would be emotionally charged. Does that make sense? And that's enough. I'd say that'd be a good exercise for you to do. Would be just like throw in interruptions, right? And early on, just say whatever you believe. Don't try and even calibrate to the girl so much. Just say whatever your opinion is. If she doesn't like it, you can always apologize. Or if it doesn't, whatever, work out. But nobody, if you say like, I've always thought this, who's gonna get offended by that, right? It's totally fine to state your opinion in life, right? But it's much cooler, it shows your personality much more than asking questions. So that's leading the conversation. And then the next stage beyond that is showing actual intent, which is the push-pull stuff. So interrupt, push-pull, and then when there's some back and forth, when there's some positive vibe, then try and close, right? Basically, at the time that you're trying to close in a set, there should already be some sort of like tentative agreement that you and she like each other at least a little bit, okay? So if you've qualified and she says something really cool, like, oh, that's really like, I'm surprised about that. Like, I mean, you're this way, but you're also this way, that's so cool. Now that you've found a set of cool things about her, now you've found a reason why she stands out other than physical, now it makes sense to close. But if you haven't done that, if you just had polite chit chat and then out of nowhere you close, like why? What did she do to earn you over? What would she do to win you over? Right? Clearly you just want her for her body because she hasn't impressed you in any other way yet, right? What you want to do is have a decent interaction, find a way for her to impress you, and then it makes sense to close.
Yeah, so you're not much adventurous, are you? No, it's okay, I understand that, you can do what you want. Yeah, I just thought to offer, so. Once in a while. Yeah, I hang out with friends, I'm actually waiting for some friends. Yeah. But it's too bad because you're leaving town tomorrow, You seem kind of cool. Maybe I would have liked to get to know you a little better. Maybe practice my Japanese. Yeah. I know only the bad words. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't say it right now, I don't know you well. Yeah. It's like the bad words are the first words that I learn in a new language. Yeah. Like, doi tashimashite. Tsutsuru ga suru shindoi. You don't know them probably. Yeah. Oh, my spelling is not correct, so it's okay. Yeah. Well, it was nice meeting you. Yeah. Good luck with your parents and have fun on your trip, all right?
Not bad though. The things that we'll give you a lot of credit for is your energy overall is good and you attempt to close, right? If you're doing those two things, you give yourself a chance to get a result. But again, there's a lot of little things you can do that will just, because right now, if you do this over and over again, you will get occasional results, but it'll be a big numbers game. It'll be like a lot of like, oh, no thanks. Well, thanks, nice to meet you, whatever. And then occasionally you get results. If you slow down, if you get that tonality more dominant and more assertive, be willing, especially on the open, just specifically on the open. It doesn't have to be like throughout the entire set, but just specifically get their attention with the open. If you start making statements instead of asking questions, start interrupting, start doing that push-pull, all those things, now instead of it being a massive numbers game, it'll be a much smaller numbers game, right? And that's what it's all about here is like, you're doing things that are good enough that they could occasionally get a result, but it is gonna be few and far between. Let's try and start doing things to narrow down those odds. Exactly. All right, let's look at set number 3.
Chinese, Japanese? Chinese or Japanese?
English?
English? No, you're not. I'm gonna stop for 2 seconds. I like your smile on both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, actual intent?
Finally, right?
That's crazy.
Where are you guys visiting from?
Los Angeles?
Los Angeles. Just moved over here a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. It's a little different, a little hotter, but a little better. Both of you have got exotic look. What is it? Japanese or Chinese? Huh? I'm not sure. Or maybe Taiwanese. Taiwanese are a little bit taller. You're not as tall.
Chinese?
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. How do you find Las Vegas so far?
It's cool.
It's cool. You're a little bit shy for Vegas though, you know? You gotta be more upbeat, more fun, you know? Yeah. I mean, you don't look like LA girl at all, totally. Yeah.
So here again, you're doing things that again have more of a chance to work, right? You're showing a little more of an intentfulness. You're more willing to say things that are, you know, potentially controversial or potentially even offensive, right? Calling them shy, calling them out on things. It's all good. Funny enough, actually, shy Asians aren't necessarily the best demographic to choose to be more of the, you know, polarizing guy. But that said, because in general you're not being very polarizing, it actually is good here. In general, though, this kind of stuff, being more polarizing, is what you should be doing in almost all of your sets in general.
Well, this is a little awkward. Go ahead. What you wanted to ask? What are you guys doing right now?
Just looking around.
Just looking around? Okay, me too. This is my friend, by the way. Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's a good friend of mine.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm by the way.
Nice
Nice
to meet you.
meeting you. Yeah. How do you know each other?
What part of China?
We're friends.
You're friends? Yeah. How long you been living in LA for?
Can you tell where I'm
1 year.
1 year. That's interesting. That's quite a culture change from China to LA, right? We're thinking about maybe going get a smoothie and hang out for a little bit.
So again, I like the fact that you're closing often, but it is still a little premature, right? Again, what do you want to have in existence before you try and close? A little bit of a back and forth between you and the girl, and ideally, here's the big one, some kind of reason why. Like just any kind of reason why. Because it's like, imagine if you went on to, imagine you went to go buy a car, right? And you're pretty dead set, you know what kind of car you want. You're even by that car, like looking at it, right? And the salesman comes up and is like, you know what, you should buy this car, come here, just sign on the bottom line. How do you feel about that salesman? Do you think he cares about you? Right? Do you think he has your best interest at heart? Do you think you're a special customer to him? No, because there's nothing there yet, right? It's just like going so directly for the outcome that there's no personality to it, right? It's too direct, right? You could go the other way too. It would be like the car salesman that like you talk to him for like, and this is more kind of what you were doing earlier, is you're the car salesman that talks and talks and talks and talks and never mentions the word car or sale at any point in the interaction. You're just kind of having small talk, right? That's also bad. But what you're doing is you're basically just like throwing in like the sell out of nowhere. Like, hi, what's your name? Okay, cool. Exactly. So there should be some premise, right? Here's a good exercise for everyone if you guys want to do it tonight. Good qualification exercise. Before you guys go out tonight, it won't take but a couple minutes. Make a list, maybe on your phones or whatever, of say 5 non-physical traits you like in a girl. Okay, make that list. And then when you go out tonight, go out and actually screen for that list. Actually go find out if the girls are those things, right? And it being Vegas, don't necessarily make a list of like things you need in like a wife, because this is like one night stand capital of the world, right? But make a list of things that would like be fun or cool or that you'd like to hang out with, or personalities that like really intrigue you or turn you on. And then go out and instead of thinking when you go in, I hope she likes me, think, I wonder if she's the right girl. I wonder if she's the girl that has those qualities. And when you come from that screening mentality, it's gonna make sense. And also, once you've screened a little bit and she's passed a couple of those screens, getting a number or closing in whatever way is gonna make a lot of sense because it's genuine. She genuinely did something to earn it.
Are you guys going this way?
Let's go.
We'll walk with you for
We'll walk with you for a minute. Bye.
Bye, nice to meet you.
Likewise as well. So, what's on the schedule for the rest of the day? What do you guys have planned?
Like after shopping, we're going to meet other friends.
To your other friend's place?
Yeah.
Are you the group leader? Because you make all the decisions. Yeah. And your friend is the shyer one, you know? She kind of stays back. She does whatever you decide, is that correct?
This is actually good, right? This is sort of like a mini cold read. You're the shy one, you're this one, you're that one. That's actually good attraction type tactics. Funny enough, again, that will tend to work better on less shy girls, but it's good tactics in general.
That's good.
Yeah, is it? So you run all the cards. Yeah, you run all the cards basically for her and for you. Yeah. What if I want to steal her for a couple of minutes? It's okay. Oh my goodness. I always despised.
It's just.
No, you're not comfortable.
I was scared.
Right, but it's just super direct, right? It's just super like trying to escalate, trying to close, whatever. Think about like, so you're doing the right things because like the things you're doing because you are,
Wrong time.
too early, just basically too early, yeah. It's, again, the things you're doing, if you did them enough times, you will get results with them because occasionally you'll find the girl that's just down or you find the girl that just like responds to your personality and that'll work. But you're kind of at mercy of like what the girl's mood was and if she was just immediately like liked you physically and that kind of stuff. So you're playing a huge numbers game. If you will just slow down a little bit and trust that the more time you spend with the girl, the more she gets to know you, the more she's gonna like you. Relax, speak slowly, convey your personality, and flirt a bit. And then once she flirts back, once she qualifies herself, then close, you're gonna do much, 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 much better, right? So there's a philosophy, it's one of the big things I teach is close early, close often, close late, which you're doing. You are closing early. But the caveat to that is don't close too early. There has to be at least a reasonable premise of why you like the girl on some level. She has to at least be able to suspend her disbelief that you just that you just saw her, wanted to fuck her, and any girl would have done. She has to be able to suspend that disbelief just a little bit, right? And because you're so sudden, there's no suspension of disbelief. It's basically like, oh, guy came up to me and wanted to fuck me. I gave in. Oh, I'm a slut, right? Essentially, right? That's the narrative in her head, right? And some girls are just out to get laid a particular night, and it'll work some fraction of the time, but it's not super reliable.
Yeah, you are.
Let's go on an adventure together.
Yeah.
Asian adventure. Together? Yeah.
Right. Let's go.
We're just walking this way.
We're walking the same way.
Yeah.
Come. We'll chit chat for a few minutes and then we'll let you go. Which hotel? I do live here now, yeah. I just moved a couple of weeks ago. I live next to Caesar's Palace in Bellagio. And you?
This is actually really good. If you can, I know it's hard. This is actually kind of weird because they're walking so slowly. If you can walk just a tiny bit faster, it would make it less awkward overall. But it's tough because if they're really dawdling behind, then you really can't. So, but it's something to be aware of.
Aria? That's a good place. I mean, there's plenty of shopping over there in the Cosmo, right? The crystal shop.
That's like very,
Right.
very trendy. It's like a newer hotel.
Yesterday. And how long are you staying for?
I think it's like Cosmo and Aria.
Yeah, but this is good. Just, go that pace. Just keep the feet moving. Whatever it is, just keep the feet turning over. As long as they're walking with, you're in good shape. And actually, the longer they walk with, the more comfortable they're going to get with it and the easier it'll get. You just need to keep them going at all costs. Like if I was in this set, I'd just be thinking, don't let her feet stop. They can go however slow you want, but don't let them stop. All right, so just keep meandering forward as you talk.
I understand that, yeah. But it can be different, The world is an oyster, so there's so much more out there. And you're in Vegas, What happens in Vegas sometimes stays in Vegas all the time.
This is actually really good. It's just 0% subtle. Keep that intentfulness, right? Keep that arousal, horniness, desire to close, whatever it is. Keep that for sure. But along the way, try and actually think about get to know the girl and enjoy the interaction, right? Instead of being just straight for the outcome. Because you're all outcome, right? So there's always Tim used to say back in the day, is game is woo plus intent. Woo meaning having a fun time, bringing your soul to it. Intent meaning being a fucking closer and getting the job done, right? You're 99% intent, 1% woo, right? Just up the woo factor a little bit, right? Up the having fun, enjoying the interaction, getting to know her factor, and think about that as a big part of it. And then obviously do keep closing. Closing is important, but just you're kind of opening with a close, right? You're like, hi, I'm here. We've spoken for 2 seconds. Would you like to come back to my place and perhaps engage in sexual intercourse? Which, funny enough, actually could work as an opener because it's just outrageous enough if you actually spelled it out. But you're saying it as subtext, right? And it's not going to work as subtext. The intent and the closing is really good, but have a real interaction around it. It's going to increase your odds.
Fine. You've heard that? Now you're smiling. Now you're starting to warm up to me, right? There you go. That's a cute smile. Yeah. Oh, these are your friends? Cool. Well, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Enjoy yourself, yeah. Good luck with it.